I'm calling myself out here because for years my slide licks were kind of boring, and I think I know why. When I was playing lead with a slide, I centered my licks around the chord that I was playing over. And when the chord changed, I would play licks that matched that chord. That actually isn't really the problem though. That's kind of a good thing, playing the changes. That's what that is. But what made my licks boring was that I didn't know any chords other than just barring across all the strings. So all I could really do was just play a lick around a single fret and then play the same thing, the same idea 2 frets lower, something like this. Now this isn't bad, and actually I kind of like that sound, but if it's the only sound that you can get, it might get kind of boring. It did for me. But the cool thing is that you can level up with just a couple of different chord voicings along with a pentatonic lick or two around that voicing thrown into the mix. Let's see this in action in an open G example. If you want the tab files for this lesson, consider becoming a BGI member. Members get tabs plus full access to a library of over 70 courses to help you play better blues. You can become a member at the link in the description. But we're going to look closely at the chord voicings and the licks that surround those voicings. But first, let's back up and have a look at the main riff. Alright, that's the main riff that we're going to play over the 1 chord in our progression. So let's break it down. We've got the open 5th string, and we're going to let that hang until the last moment before beat 2. If we're counting it out, is on the of 1 E and I'm going to switch to playing the G major triad. Now, what that is simply the 4th string, 3rd string, and 2nd string played all at once. So I'm using my index finger on the 4th, my middle finger on the 3rd, and my ring finger on the 2nd. And I'm doing that so that I can pluck all 3 strings at the same time. And if you don't want to do that, you could absolutely just strum up and do a brush up through those same 3 strings. But I like the sound of being able to play the chord all at once, like pushing down on the piano keys all at once. Right? So that's what we're doing. Now, when we get to beat 2, notice what I'm doing. In fact, I'm going to take the slide away and just use my picking hand here. So as we come to beat 2, I'm just returning my hand to the strings, not picking anything, but I just come back down to the strings, not hard even, and I get that little snare sound. Great thing to do on beat 2 if you think about your backbeat, you know, boom, cack, boom. We just introduced that little stumble note chord really in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a cool way to practice this groove. Just leave some space, take the slide away, and see if you can play that. It's all in the picking. But we need to fill in that space. And what we're going to do is come back to the 5th string. This is kind of a ghost note. It's really quick on the way to our slide chord here. Now, what we're doing with that is starting in front of the 2nd fret. And what I mean by in front of is this direction, right? This way, like up the fretboard. So I'm not over the fret, which would be really good slide technique, but that's not what I'm going for here. I'm not going for something so pristine and perfectly intonated. I'm going for a sound. And the way I'm going to get there is to start in front of the 2nd fret, push toward the 3rd, and not even get there, right? I'm really in this 3rd fret zone the whole time, but I'm neither second fret nor third fret, right? So we get to kind of get in between. That's what the slide is really good for. And we get to add that really bluesy sound to it when we do. Now, after that slide, which by the way is on the same strings, 4, 3, and 2, and I'm just kind of locking these fingers together and plucking together that chord, and that slide chord there. A little tag there before we get to the ending move, which is the same 3 fingers picking strings 4, 3, and 2, but with a C major triad held down here, right? You can recognize that if you're familiar with standard tuning as being the top of a C major chord, strings 4, 3, and 2 anyway, but we don't need that ring finger on the 5th string. We don't need the 5th string at all. We just want to play this triad. We've got our E, G, and the C is on top. Those are the 3 notes that we need for C major. And then we're going to open up and start the riff over again, this time with a strum down through the strings. This sounds so cool to me. And if you think about it, if you're a standard tuning player, you might use that trick with triads. You're moving between 2 triads like this. If I bring it up here, there's something you might recognize, right? Those are the 2 shapes at play, just different fingers, right? And this one uses the open strings for the 1 chord. There's the 4, there's the 1, there's the 4. Great little move. Great little move to have in your back pocket, and we're using it at the end of this riff to kind of wrap up. All right, and that little tag in the bass is happening with a similar fashion where I'm really not thinking about the 2nd fret, the 3rd fret. I'm thinking about the sound and sliding from just in front of the 2nd up to almost the 3rd. Right? So we're really in that gray area. But that's happening all on the 5th string. All right, and you can loop that over a few times before we get ready to change chords to the 4 chord. Well, we've already visited this shape. Here it is. This is the C major shape. We're just going to walk up the 4th string into it, and then we're going to play some minor pentatonic goodness. There we go. So, what are we doing there? For the lick, I'm coming up and sliding into the 4th fret of the 2nd string. It's an E flat, that's the minor 3rd of C. It's the chord we're playing over. And then drop back down to the 1st fret, 2nd string, that's the C, right? So we're doing the minor 3rd, slide into it. We got to scoop into it, get that bluesy sound. And then the root. And then pluck the B flat, that's the 3rd fret, 3rd string, which happens to be the flat 7 of the chord, gives it that real bluesy sound, right? So this really feels minor pentatonic. And to get out of that measure, we just start walking up again. Now, if you're singing along with this, you could do something like this. But if you want to lick, this is a cool one. Even just that move is a really cool one to toss in. Again, E flat to C, so that's 4th fret to 1st on the 2nd string. And banging into that B flat really lets you know we're playing with some blues sounds here. All right, and then that is one of my favorite moves in this entire arrangement. Working with the same notes we've just played with, and then sliding up on that 4th string from the 3rd fret up to the 5th fret. So when we do that, we're scooping into a G note with the slide, and then we're going to play the G note with the 5th string to start back with our main riff. Right? So hear how these two parts fit together. Then we get ready to do something very similar, but from the perspective of a D7 chord. So with this D7, I'm really focusing on the A note, 3rd string. Fact is, that's where I'm walking into, and then I've got my first finger on the C. That gives us, if you're thinking about D, that gives us the dominant 7th sound over D, right? There's the D. The C gives us the flat 7th sound. So for our lick here, we're going to slide up into the major 3rd, 4th fret. That's the 4th fret, then open. And we go C, A, a 2nd string, 3rd string, 1st fret, 2nd fret, up to the D. Remember, we're over a D chord. And 2 notes just to get us out. And then we kind of repeat the lick that we already played over C. Into the main riff. Find ways to incorporate even simple chord voicings into your slide jams. Then play a nearby pentatonic lick to help you avoid that trap of just playing single fret licks. This really helped me move away from the boring 1 fret lick sound, and I think it can help you. Remember, you can check out membership if you want the tab for this, along with over 70 other step-by-step courses to help you play better blues. You can find out how to join at the link in the description. Would love to have you as a member, and I hope to see you inside my BGI. Until then, practice smart and play on.